About 100 years ago, a bloke named Frank Hahn was exploring around Pilbara out in Western Australia. He reckoned that all the streams flowing inland meant that there must be some inland sea at the end of it all. He wasn't wrong. Lake Disappointment, he called it. Used to laugh every time I saw it on the map. The thing's one of the biggest salt beds in the country. There's water too, plenty of it at the right time of year, though nothing you could drink without gagging. Nowadays, the land up that way is being used for mining, like most of the outback really. Used to think it was a damn shame, until I got a job on one. Looking back, I guess I've come full circle. Potash, that's what we were digging up. Water-soluble potassium. Gets used in fertilizers and animal feed. My job was the fun part, drilling and detonating. It sounds dumb, I know, but I always loved big machines. Most guys I worked with used to blast music or listen to podcasts under earmuffs. I just liked listening to the engine, the gears in the drill. It felt good. And I guess because of that, I was always a little bit more attentive than the other blokes who worked in the mine. I was always watching, listening, aware of my surroundings. When we broke through the wall into that cavern, I swear to God, I saw something scampering away on the other side. I powered down the drill as soon as we breached, unnerved by the thing that I saw. But I guess I assumed it was just a local, wandering down in the caves. We weren't really that deep after all. It can be pretty dangerous to just go drilling into chasms under a salt lake. Could be flooded, might not be stable. In theory it shouldn't happen because the boys with clipboards, they're supposed to be able to tell when there's a cavern and tell us not to dig there, or at least warn us first. Well, I guess someone got an ear bashing over this one. Once the dust had settled and I was sure the roof wasn't going to fall down on me, I poked my head in to have a look. I have to say, the cavern itself was pretty beautiful, like its own little world underneath ours. The roof above was peach-coloured and translucent, so the sun shone through, bathing everything in a sort of pinkish glow. I figured we must be under a relatively thin crust of pretty unusual salt rock, like a big stained glass ceiling. Weird thing was that a wind seemed to be coming up and out of the cavern. Could have just been a pressure difference equalizing, but it unnerved me either way. We had to get a geologist down from the surface, but I figured I'd take a look around while I had the opportunity. There was a good chance I'd get told I wasn't allowed back in once it had been inspected, so I wanted to make sure I got an eyeful while I could still plead ignorance. Inside, it was pretty surreal to say the least. The winds felt stronger in the room if anything, but other than my clothes flapping about, everything had an odd stillness to it. I guess this sounds dumb, but it almost felt like a church. That weird sort of tranquility you get in an old-fashioned cathedral with a high ceiling. Down toward the back of the cavern, I could see a passage that seemed to go deeper in, but I didn't want to get too far out of sight. After a minute or two of gawking, the wind stopped and I don't know, it just felt wrong. Like I had eyes staring down the back of my neck. I made my way out as quickly as I could, but I felt something catch onto my ankle on the way back through the breach. Probably just a rock or something, but it sure as hell put a spring in my step. It wasn't until I was back in my bunk that afternoon that I noticed the blood. Not sure how nobody had pointed it out to me. Whole bloody sock was soaked red, and all from what looked like just a nick in my ankle. The thing was still bleeding, slowly, but it didn't hurt. It was like a leech bite. Little buggers have some sort of anticoagulant in their saliva that stops your blood clotting. You bleed for hours. I went to see the doctor on site, Cassie. Only about 25, but I swear she had enough wits for 3 lifetimes. She got a job out on Lake Disappointment straight after her medical degree. Not hard to guess why. The pay out in the mines is great for all of us, even the cleaners. I can't even imagine what they were paying a doctor. "Looks like you've still got something stuck in there," she said, as she prodded with a set of tweezers. "Not sure how deep it is. Do you want any anesthetic, or should I just start pulling and see what happens?" "You're the doctor," I laughed, as she shook her head. She was used to everybody playing the tough guy. Aussie men are stubborn enough in cities. You can imagine how it gets with blokes out in the mines. The tweezers caught on something as Cassie began to tug. Frowning with consternation, she had to stifle a gasp, and the bloody thing just kept going. Only after she had it all the way out could I see what it was. A claw? Nope. A nail. A long, but definitely human, nail. Thing was a full 10 centimeters deep and filed sharp as a razor. How the hell was I walking on that? Cassie looked white in the face. It's not every day that you see a doctor get squeamish. "How the bloody hell did you get this lodged in your ankle?" she asked me when the shock had worn off. "Your guess is as good as mine," I replied, trying to keep cool. The tone in my voice gave me away though. I had a chill down my back like you would not believe. I got to miss a day of work to rest it, which was nice. Still didn't hurt, which was weird. Bleeding stopped eventually though. The uneasy feeling I got from the whole ordeal, it simmered down a little as well, but it didn't leave entirely. I kept thinking about the stuff I heard about this place before I took the job. The lake is supposed to be some sort of holy place to the locals. Matu tribe they're called. A pretty friendly mob, or seemed to be the couple of times I'd met them, even if they didn't seem too keen to have us around. Apparently we were paying them some pretty big money to mine here though, so I guess their elders were letting it slide. Maybe not everybody in the tribe thought that was a good idea. There was supposed to be some sort of thing that scared the Matu from coming too close to the lake. Some old story. Something called the Niagalko. I'm told it means something like cannibal in their language, but I wouldn't be able to tell if they were just having me on. Initially, I thought that the boys were just trying to wind me up when they told me about it, but after a while, I did notice that the Matu definitely kept their distance from the lake. They kept their distance from us too for the most part, like we were contagious or something. Unsettled me some, especially after my little incident. Now, here's where things get really shady. This should give you some idea of what the people running these mines are like. Turns out that when my boss found out about the cavern, he started to panic. See, the thing you need to know about these unique and beautiful caves with natural crystal ceilings is that it can be pretty hard to get permission to blow them up. My boss, of course, a true Australian mining executive, was pissing himself over the chance that this discovery would slow down business. I wasn't even surprised when the news came down that we were going to detonate the cavern before the word caught on and we found the whole mine heritage listed. And of course, wanting as few people as possible to know about this, yours truly was asked to carry out the detonation. I know, I'm a scumbag. I wish I could say that I turned them down and quit on the spot, that I called the papers and made a situation. Maybe I would have too, but Christ on a bike, I thought that little scribble at the bottom of the work order was a phone number. until I noticed the dollar sign next to it. Suffice to say, every man has his price, and now I know mine. It was just me and one other guy sent down to wire up the cavern, which was completely irregular for a blast that big. But like I said, they were trying to keep things low-key. I had some pretty big reservations about going back in that cavern, but I was pretty keen on the idea of retiring at age 30, so I soldiered on. When we got down there, it was just the same as I'd left it. The breach was just big enough to slide through if you crouched a bit, and wind was blowing out of the cavern. The work itself didn't take long. You'd be surprised how few explosives it takes to bring down a million-year-old cave. Having someone else in there with me, it even eased my worry a bit. After a half hour or so, the unease had completely left me. Until the wind stopped. We only had a couple of charges left to go. When it happened, immediately, I got that feeling again. That sense of being watched. I turned to my workmate, Dave. We should probably get out of here. Get this job done early and have the arvo off, he said. He was clearly as unnerved as I was. But of course, blokes out in the mines don't admit to being scared. We were both halfway to the breach when we heard it. A rattling sound, followed by a screech that could have woken the dead. We would have run straight out, but trouble was, it was sitting right above the only exit. She, I don't know what the hell to call it. The thing was shaped like a human, but it looked wrong. Crawling along the wall, like a bug. Its skin was chalk white, and mangy hair covered its face. I think I'm thankful for that. One thing did stand out though. Its nails. Every damn one of them, hideously long, and I would assume, sharp as a bloody razor. All except one of them. One of them was broken off. Apparently, most people's natural response to fear can be described in one of two words: fight or flight. While Dave, bless him, was apparently more of a fighter, the latter option always suited me better. I didn't get a good look at what happened after he charged the thing, but I sure as hell heard it. A scream, a tearing noise, and finally, a sort of sickening pop, followed by a splattering sound. The two of them had met somewhere in the middle, and after I'd ran sidelong a bit, the way between me and the breach was clear. I was almost tripped when I saw Dave's head fly past me and bounce off the wall of the cavern. But adrenaline is one hell of a drug. And now the bit I was dreading. I would have to squat down to get out of the hole. That meant slowing down. Not fun. I bit my lip and I tried to sort of dive and slide through. But needless to say, that was a dumb idea. My shoulder hit the corner of the hole hard, and I found myself halfway out and on my stomach. Then I felt it. The same stabbing pain shooting up my ankle. The other ankle this time. Turning my head so I'd know where to kick, my blood ran cold. No eyes. That ugly bastard had no eyes. But I swear on my life, it was looking right at me. Slits for nostrils, and a mouth full of teeth that would have made a meth addict blush. I pulled my foot frantically, and the nail driven into my ankle snapped off. With my other foot, I kicked at its face while I scrambled back on my elbows. I know someone up there is looking out for me, because I felt something crunch under my boot, and the creature, it reeled back long enough for me to make like Harold Holt. The charges were all wireless, of course, and needless to say, there's an app for that. Generally speaking, it's best to get out of a tunnel before you blow it up, but this was no time for formalities. I heard that thing scream one last time as it scrambled back through the breach. Boom! Draw the curtains. Fade to black. I woke up with Doc Cassie looking down at me, after what I'm told was a rather significant blow to the back of my head. Loose debris from the explosion. The hard hat had taken the worst of it, but I had a minor fracture to my skull and the headache to end all headaches. Nobody knew what had happened down there, and so naturally, they assumed it had been an accidental detonation. I was not in any hurry to correct them. I knew what I saw. I also knew how crazy the truth would sound. The big lump on my head, it wouldn't exactly have made me any more believable either. I think I was happy to let them all think it was just a freak accident. Maybe, if they all believed it, I could too. Maybe I did just get hit in the head too hard. Maybe my memory of the whole ordeal is just some screwed up nightmare, one that my pain-addled brain cooked up during the 3-day coma I was in. I wish I had the option to believe that. Unfortunately, I had a witness to corroborate my story. A long, razor-sharp, but disturbingly human nail that Cassie pulled from my ankle while I was asleep. A little reminder that, for some reason, she felt she had to show me when I woke up. I made a joke about loving symmetry and needing to balance out the other ankle. You know how blokes like us out in the mines get.